First of all, thank you for Abundant Life Institute to invite me to give a talk here. Pastor Monica want me to introduce myself. I try to make it brief. I got my MBA in UK, majoring in international banking and finance, and then going back to Hong Kong, I work in a treasury department as a trader and dealer, and majoring in trading the interest rate instrument in US dollar and the new financial vehicles. Going back to Canada, I joined a Canadian bank in the risk management department. I then go across the border, go down south, work in US for around 24 years. And my last job is in a hedge fund. As a fund manager, I handle the legal matter and the derivative documentation for them. And then in the past 4 years, I came back to Canada to work in Canadian bank in the global credit management department, regarding about the regulatory requirement and the compliance for the global credit management. That's my short introduction to my backgrounds, okay? Today's topic is called COVID-19, the Canadian implication. First of all, I would like to make a disclaimer, is that the information contained in this presentation only represents my personal opinion. It's solely for your general information and not acting as any professional advice. Material does not represent the view of Abundant Life Institute nor the company that I'm working for. The first section is to talk about the financial impact to our economy during the past 3 months. The first 17 slides are the economic data from March to April. The last 4 slides in this section talk about the newer data which we gather in the second week of June, therefore covering all the newer data in May. Talking about the financial impact, everyone will talk about the labor market impact. If you look at the left-hand column, the industry which carry the major impact, of course, is the restaurant and accommodation industry. The yellow dot at the bottom represent the loss of working hours in that industry. The light green one is the March impact. The dark green one is the April impact. You can see that in general, the loss of working hour is more severe than the loss of employment in each industry. Partly because when the economy goes down, most of the workers will try to share lower number of working hours until a time when they can no longer live with the smaller number of working hours. Therefore, they start to lay off people. Therefore, the loss of employment in the industry generally is less severe than the loss of working hours. And on the third column, on construction, you will see that most of the province do not stop the construction site until April. Therefore, there is no March impact. But in April, the drop of employment in that industry is by around 20%. Going to the right-hand column, you see that there's some industry which has carried less impact by the COVID-19. Most of them are the so-called essential services named by the government. For example, like FIRE, which is financial, insurance, and real estate. Those industries are the major supporting industry for the whole economy. Therefore, the loss of working hour as well as the loss of employment is less than 5%. Of course, there are some professional services like legal, accounting, and some public service like the waste management, like the fire department, as well as the police department. Those are least affected, and the loss of employment is less than 5%. Well, there's a special distortion about the average hourly wages in this COVID-19 period. In the past 15 years, you can see that our average hourly wage increased between 2 to 4% every year, which is because of the inflation rate experienced in Canada in the past 15 years. And the province is gradually raising the minimum pay to adjust for the inflation. Therefore, every year, we enjoy around 2 to 4% wage increase. But in this COVID-19, the situation has been distorted, mainly because most of the lower pay job would be eliminated in the COVID-19. People like cashier, waiter, cleaning, those lower pay job has been disappeared much faster than the other job. Therefore, the average hourly rate during this COVID-19 has actually increased because of the loss of the lower income portion. Talking about the recovery pathway, generally there are three different patterns. The first one is called L-shaped recovery. L-shaped is that it will drop quickly, but it will go horizontally for a period of time until the industry find a way to restructure. They have to change their business model so that they can survive. This industry might suffer a lot because the social structure has changed, the social expectation has changed. If this industry do not restructure completely enough to adjust for a new environment, they might not even survive. They might disappear. Things like air travel, like tourism, like cruises, like the sports events, those major functions might have gone until they find a way to readjust. This type of industry carry around 10% of our GDP. Although you can say that 10% is not a major portion, but mind you, this industry is those industry which is most lucrative for the country and earn the foreign income for Canada. Therefore, they need to recover to make sure that our growth rate go back to normal. Well, I don't think that the oil and gas industry will disappear. However, their major customers are like air travel, tourism. Therefore, if this industry do not recover, oil and gas industry will not recover also. The second part is called U-shaped recovery. U-shaped means that you go down quickly, and then you go horizontally for a short period of time, and then you will increase back again when the general economy has recovered. This part of industry carry the major part or the lion's share of our general economy. Those, for example, like mining, like manufacturing, the non-food retail, finance, insurance, and real estate, and some professional services. When the economy has recovered, they will recover as well, but they cannot lead the recovery. They need other industry to go up first before they will follow. Therefore, the general time period for them to suffer may be between 6 months to 1 year before they go back to normal. The last one is called V-shaped recovery. This industry, in general, will recover immediately after the lockdown is clear, because those provide the essential services to the society, and the society will need that afterwards. As a result, you will see that like education, public administration, telecom, internet, the restaurant business will go back to normal quickly once the economy and the lockdown is over. And therefore, you have to think about yourself, which industry you are in, to see how long you need to suffer. Then we would like to go to a provincial level to see how each province reacts in this COVID-19 situation. The left-hand column is about the confirmed cases of losing job in different provinces, and the right-hand column carry the percentage of employment changes month by month. Of course, the two major provinces who are suffering in this COVID-19 are those we have the most cases reported, namely Quebec and Ontario. Therefore, they lost more jobs. In general, the nationwide percentage, we have lost around 8% of employment. You will see that some of the so-called the eastern side province suffer less because, for example, like PEI, New Brunswick, their major products are fishery and tourism. Those products carry very wide demand both in North America and around the world. Therefore, their manufacturing and their industry has not quite down as much. In general, the employment is only losing around 5 to 6% in those eastern provinces. Well, talking about reopening, Every province has got their own program, simply because it depends on how heavy are the COVID-19 situation in the province. Second, it also related to how the government think about the economy, how urgent they have to jumpstart the economy. And of course, it also depends on how each phase of reopening kind of arrive to the next one. In general, the first phase of reopening will be the outdoor activities, some of the more urgent services like hairdressing, dentistry. And the next phase will be on the schooling. And for the schooling part, we have two different philosophies. Some provinces tend to open the school from the bottom. That means from kindergarten to primary school. They think that the younger kids need more disciplined life. And if they do not have school life for a long time, they will not be able to catch up with their study in the near future. Therefore, provinces like Quebec try to open the kindergarten to primary level. But the major drawback about this is that those small kids are less able to protect themselves and might lead to a big jump on the COVID-19 cases thereafter. And another province like Ontario and other provinces try to open the schooling from the top. That means they try to open the schooling from university to high school because they think that those older students will have knowledge how to protect themselves and remain the social distancing. Therefore, they think that because of those reopening, it will not lead to a substantial jump on the COVID-19 cases. In general, after they open the school, they will start to open some other recreation and some other industry like restaurant, cinemas, and those, of course, will create a lot of social gathering. As a result, it might have some risk of jumpstart the COVID-19 cases. But mind you, those industries like restaurant, cinema, retail business actually create the most employment for this country. Without opening those restaurants and those retail business and more, the economy cannot recover back to normal. Of course, the next phase of opening will involve some larger gathering like churches, like the sports events, like the carnival and festivals. Those events will be the last to reopen because those carry higher risk of spreading the virus. And as a result, the government are very cautious in reopening those events. Of course, every province has got their own pace of reopening, mainly because of the COVID-19 situation in that province, and also depends on how conservative is the government. Ontario is very famous for being so conservative. They open up very slowly, same as in Quebec. And also, the reopening stage will be in different phases. For example, if the first phase is reopened, they see a huge jump on their cases, then they're going to delay the next phase reopening. Sometimes if the cases are very high, they're going to reverse the reopening and shut back some industry to try to contain the spreading of the virus. Therefore, the reopening process all depends on how individual phases carry on and how they determine when the next phase will be relieved. Luckily enough, Ontario cases has dropped gradually, therefore allow us to be able to open up more and more industry and different places of gathering. Then talking about the oil industry, as you remember, back in March, some days has a very shocking experience for oil industry because the oil price has gone down to negative. That has a huge impact to our 3 provinces who produce oil, mainly Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Newfoundland. Newfoundland actually is produce natural gas, whereas Alberta is the one who produce the oil. And they, in general, suffer between 8% to 10% GDP drop in the first quarter of 2020. We expect that to gain back some of the GDP, and they have, I think, gained back around 2 to 3% in the remaining part of 2020, 2021. compared to the rest of Canada, whereby we only have the suffering around 5% of the GDP growth. Therefore, in general, the suffering in the oil industry province are more severe. Luckily enough, the price drop in oil has stopped, and now the oil price is between $35 to $40 per barrel, which is already much, much better than what we experienced in the month of March. Well, talking about the GDP decline, we would like to use the 4 most populated provinces to compare. In general, we suffer around 8% drop in GDP in 2020. And then in 2021, we will have the similar kind of growth rate in most provinces except BC, British Columbia, because they are a much better performance in controlling the virus. Therefore, the growth rate next year would surpass what we experienced in 2020. Ontario might balance off. That means whatever we have lost in the year 2020, we might get back those in the coming year. However, this data is back to the end of April. The data shown in May show that the province might suffer longer recession because Canada has not recovered as nicely as other countries. Therefore, the growth rate next year might not fully recover what we suffered in the year 2020. Therefore, we think that the most recent data indicate that we still will have some contraction in the coming year until 2022. Well, talking about the Atlantic region province, you will see that they are more unique. They only suffer around 3 to 4% drop in GDP, vis-a-vis the rest of the country, whereby the dropping is around 8% to 7%, excluding those 3 provinces. Therefore, you will see that each province will suffer differently in this COVID-19 experience, as well as their employment situation is different too. Well, talking about economy, we could not ignore one of our major industry, which is real estate. Well, you can see that in the past years, between 2016 to 2018, actually, most of our real estate market enjoy a very long-term growth rate. Some of the housing market enjoy around 10% increase of sales, or a bit higher than 10% or 10 to 15% price increase in each of the major cities. But coming to 2020, you see that the first month, January, because of the weather, the market has been very quiet. Therefore, the new listing and sales has actually experienced a slow growth and even dropping it, although the price is increased a little bit. Going to the month of February, you can see that the new listing comes in because of spring market, as well as the sale also increased by around 5%. The price also increased at the same time. However, going to the month of March, because the lockdowns started in the middle of that month, therefore you can see that the new listings start to drop, as well as the sales start to drop. However, the price remained positive in that month. Unfortunately, the full lockdown comes in the month of April. Therefore, you can see that both the new listing and sales dropped by around 60% just in that month, which is the biggest drop ever recorded in the housing market in this country. Same as the pricing level has dropped by around 10% in the country, which is unprecedented for the housing market here. Well, talking about the forecast, you will see that after the around 70% drop in the first quarter and in April, we expect the market to go back to a bit normal. We hope that by the second quarter of 2021, the sales level and the price level will return back to the level you see in January and February of 2020. Partly because why it's not the first quarter of next year is because most of the public will wait whether the winter time, the COVID-19 will come back. Therefore, people will wait for one more quarter before they fully enter back into the market. Well, if you look at the most recent data in the first 2 weeks of June, actually, some of the housing market has recovered nicely. For example, like the vacation home in Ontario had jumped by around 25% in sales and price. And some of those areas in Ontario, the sales has gone up quickly and the price as well. Therefore, the most recent data shown in June actually indicate the fact that the housing market in Ontario and BC has been performing much better than first anticipated. Well, talking about the housing market, the primary driving force behind it is about the population growth. Well, you know that our country do not have organic growth in population. Most of our population growth is coming from immigration. On average, our immigration number is between 300 to 400,000 per year. You notice that from 2011 to 2019, our immigration number actually increased between 200,000 to around 400,000. Therefore, you can see that the housing market gradually kind of improved in the last 8 years. You notice that in the year 2015, suddenly the government has restricted some immigration. Therefore, that year, the price has dropped. But as soon as they relax that program, you will see that the housing market was very hot in the year 2016 and caused at least 20% price increase just in that year. As a result, most provinces created some special restriction to avoid excessive price growth in the year 2016. Talking about the population growth, you expect that most of the new immigrants would like to go to the big city like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Therefore, most of the big cities enjoy a gradual influx of the immigrants. Toronto, by far, enjoyed the biggest influx. In fact, in the year 2016-2019, on average, our population grew by around 100,000 every year. You ask me why under other sources we have a negative. Well, the answer is very simple. Most of the new immigrants will come to Toronto to settle. They can find a good job or at least some job for them to survive. After a couple of years, they settle down. They find that Toronto is very expensive to live. Therefore, they move to Brampton, Markham, Vaughan to live. Therefore, according to the other sources, the population actually got decreased because of the expensive nature in Toronto. Well, Toronto is having the best immigration influx because they are the most cosmopolitans. We have immigration from Asia, from Europe, and also from India. Those are the three major sources of immigration in Ontario. Montreal enjoys most of the immigration from continental Europe like France, Germany, and Italy. Therefore, they become the second city to enjoy the influx of immigrants. Vancouver, on the other hand, have the immigration mostly from Asia. Therefore, the type of immigrants in Vancouver is less. As a result, the population growth is not as much. Talking about the different housing development, we do expect that in general, the sales will go back to normal or a bit better in the coming year, in 2021. And we expect BC will carry the highest growth among all the provinces. Two things. One is that the possible immigration increase will help BC to accept more Asian immigrants because of political situation in Asia. And second is because the BC Health Department actually registered the best result out of all the provinces that they control COVID-19 in the best manner compared to other provinces. And as a result, people have more confidence in that particular province. But one thing which would like to kind of remind you is that immigration number in 2020 will be lower than 2019. 2019, we have around 400,000 immigration. But up to now, we expect the immigration in the year 2020 will be around 100 to 150,000, which is only 1/3 of what we used to experience. Partly because of the COVID-19 that people are stopping to come to Canada. Second, because a lot of air travel has stopped a lot of countries has not opened up themselves to exchange the airline industry between their country and ourselves. As a result, immigrant might not be able to come to our country as frequent as before. Well, next one is about the falling supply because of the shutdown of the construction industry caused a drop in the housing supply, as well as our housing market is very peculiar in the sense that the central bank policy keep the mortgage ratio between 60 to 70. Therefore, the seller would not have any pressure to sell the house in a depressed market. Therefore, we expect that a lot of the owner will cancel the listing. And as a result, we will feel that the market will soon get to the floor, and then the price will recover in the third to fourth quarter of 2020. And if you look at the first 2 weeks of data in the major city, you can see that the market started to go up, and some of those price has gone up to the level in the month of January 2020. Therefore, the housing market has recovered nicely in the past 2 months. And talking about the rise, you will see that the most suffering month is the second quarter of this year, and we expect the price and as well as the sales volume will go up. The price might go up by around 1 to 2% in the next few quarters. The next 4 slides are the newer economic data registered in the first 2 weeks of June. You will see that in most of the forecasts, we think that the recovery will be very soon. But the newer data indicate the fact that the economy in Canada might suffer longer than before. Most of the province has suffered. If you look at the left-hand corner, left column, you will see that most of the economy, national-wise, will suffer around -6% in year 2020. Bigger province is better. For example, like Ontario, Quebec, and BC will suffer 6%, whereas some smaller provinces like Newfoundland, like Alberta will suffer more. Of course, some Atlantic region province has suffered less in the growth. However, the growth in 2021 is the reverse. Those who suffer more might have better recovery rate in the coming year. Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia would largely recover most of the loss which we suffered in 2021. But we will not be able to fully recover what we have lost this year because of the delay in the recovery, as well as our opening program has been more conservative. Therefore, Ontario did not recover as quickly as Quebec or British Columbia. Talking about unemployment in the fourth column, you will see that before the COVID-19, our unemployment rate is between 5 to 6%. Nationwide average is 5.7%. Because of COVID-19, unemployment rate nationwide jumped to 10%. We expected the unemployment rate nationwide next year will recover half of the ground, go back to around 7.6%. If you notice the fact that Ontario is better than the nationwide average, mainly because some of the financial industry in Ontario has not cut their employment at all in the COVID-19 situation. Therefore, they suffer less during this virus condition. And as well, next year, they might be supported by the growth of real estate market and some other manufacturing industry, which will cause a better recovery. Among those, you will see that our forecast for Alberta has revised because we think that oil price will not drop as much. They will kind of recover quicker. And therefore, the outlook on Alberta economy is not as brilliant as what we used to see. One thing very interesting is that about the housing start in Ontario, although we shut down the construction industry for 1.5 months, but actually once they started, the growth rate is so quickly that Ontario housing start in the year 2020 and 21 will be very, very nicely rebound compared to the other province. Actually, our construction industry will lead our way to get out from the economic recession. This is a general review of how the GDP contraction has been in year 2020. You will see that the province on the right-hand side suffer less than the middle and the left-hand side. But in actual fact, Ontario are not so bad. Of course, people can blame that we are more conservative and delay our reopening. But in general, we suffer around 6% contraction. Compared to the national average, we are not too bad. But of course, BC enjoy better growth or better economy because they control the virus better than us. Talking about the lockdown effect in Ontario, we found that because of the delayed reopening program, most of public space did not carry any more visitor, and we lagged the nationwide average by around 10%. But the difference between Ontario and other provinces is that we are much more densely populated province. Our infrastructure are better. Therefore, the delivery services as well as the curbside pickup has increased. Therefore, even though that people do not visit the mall and those public spaces, but they use the takeout as well as curbside and also the delivery service. Therefore, our retail sales has not gone down as much as these graphs show. We do not lag the country average by 10%. Actually, we are about flat with the nationwide standard. The last one is one of our major industry, the car producing vehicle industry. Unfortunately, we suffer around 90% drop in the last 2 quarters because we shut down the plants for 2 months. After they reopened the plants, we find out that the recovery rate has been very slow, mainly because of the overseas demand. The US economy and other market has not been recovering very quickly. Therefore, the shipment of our motor vehicle has gone down, and this dropping of the motor vehicle industry might cause some contraction of our Ontario of this province GDP in the coming years. And hopefully, by the year 2020, when US economy is fully recovered, our motor vehicle industry might go back up again. This ends my first section, and I would like to come to the second section. It's a general review of how the economic rescue program in Canada. Well, you can see that we can divide the program into 3 different levels. The first level is federal level. The second level is called provincial level. The last level is called central bank intervention. Well, the first package are tax. For example, like delay deadline for personal and corporate income tax, lowering the corporate tax rate. The second program is about salary. Under the Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy Program, CEWS, the company will have some subsidy from government, and I'm going to describe it in detail later on. The next program is some relief of certain pension plan contribution. The next one is the unemployment subsidy, which is for general public of the Canadian public. The next one is the student relief program, which help out those college graduate, those high school graduate, to kind of carry them through during the summer program. The next program is called the rental subsidy, which is for the public, called the CERCA, which is to subsidize the rental expenses for the small corporate. Well, talking about the delayed deadline, you will see that the first program the federal government introduced is that to delay our personal income tax filing from April 30th to August 31st. Therefore, we have 4 more months to file our tax return and then pay the government our tax in the year 2019. Of course, if you think that you have some refund from the government, you might as well file your tax return earlier. The other program is called the Wage Assistance Program, which is called the CEWS. This program is very simple. If any small corporate income dropped by around 30% in the last quarter, if they promise to keep the staffing level, The government will subsidize 75% of the employee income up to Canadian dollar $847 per week, which will last for 6 months. This is the most expensive program introduced by the government and cost the federal government most in various programs. The second one is called pension plan contribution. Some of the corporate have a special pension plan contribution to the government, and the government agreed to waive 1% contribution by the corporate, which is to reduce the financial burden for the corporate. The third one is unemployment. Now they merge with the EI program. Is that every Canadian, whether you are employed or self-employed, if you are over 15 years of age, if your 2019 income is more than $5,000, then the government will give you $500 per week for originally it's 3 months, now extend to 6 months. And they said that you do not need to show the proof to the government. And of course, the government kind of caution you that you cannot file a false claim. If you do not have enough income last month, you are not qualified for this program. But they are not going to chase after you. They were going to ask you for proof later on when the program is kind of quiet down. They will try to chase after someone which they have in doubt. The next program is the Student Relief Program. It was introduced in the 3rd week of May, which is to help out those students, either the high school graduate or the college student. Some of them need to find a summer job to finance the next year tuition fee. Some of them need to get a suitable job to start. If they are not qualified for the other program, CERB program, then the government agreed to subsidize this kind of student in the month of May to August. If you are single, the government will pay you $1,250 per month up to these 4 months. If you have any dependent, then you will be able to get $2,000 per month. Mind you, this program is not restricted to just Canadian. It also extends to foreign students. The government believes that some foreign students need summer job to finance themselves and carry through the summer and pay for the next year tuition. Therefore, the government is going to give the students some relief to help them carry through this difficult period. The next one is about the rental subsidy. The program is the most stringent program among all the subsidy programs. First of all, the corporate income has to drop by 75%. Then the government will give you 75% rental reduction. 50% is paid by the government, federal government. 25% is paid by the landlord. And then the small corporate has to pay the remaining 25%. The problem is, if the income drops by 75%, the corporate cannot survive. They might as well collapse and close the door. Therefore, it's hard for a corporate to suffer such a huge loss of income, and they can still survive and enjoy this program. Therefore, I think the corporate rental subsidy program is deemed to be a failure. The next level is provincial level. Provincial level in general is smaller compared to federal level. As you know, the financial resources of the whole country is controlled in the federal level. Only the federal government have enough financial resources to provide various subsidies. However, Ontario has granted several special programs to help us out. First of all, they use $50 million to purchase medical equipment, for example, like face masks, protective clothing, and the face shield for the medical staff, and some of the child care people, and also those people working in the elderly home. They also have extra $25 million as bonus for the frontline worker, fire department, and the child care department. The second program they have is that they try to unify the hydro rate to the lowest level of the day. The province think that most of our people will start to work from home all day. Therefore, it's unrealistic to just keep the hydro rate in different level. Instead, they have one lowest rate for the whole day so that you can use your electricity anytime you like. But this lowest rate has increased by 3 cents per degree, starting from first week of June, because the rate is too low that the provincial government suffered too much loss because of this reduction. The third program actually was announced 3 days ago by the Ontario government. They're going to spend another $150 million as a program to help the corporate to reopen their business and help them how to use internet to try to catch back the newer nature of the whole economy. The next level is called the central bank level. Central bank actually created several programs to help the economy. First of all, they have provided some guarantee loan. And this guarantee loan will help the commercial bank to help the industry in the deepest trouble, like export energy. Because a lot of the central bank, because a lot of the commercial bank is reluctant to lend to industry because those industry might not be able to repay the loan. Therefore, the central bank acts as a guarantor for those industry and promise that if they do not repay, the central bank will cover the loan. On the other hand, some commercial bank is not willing to lend to the mortgages, simply because they see that the housing price might drop. In order to make sure that the housing market will not go down dramatically, central government through the CMHC has brought up some mortgage portfolio so as to release commercial banks' burden so that they can lend more new mortgages to the general public. Another central bank program is that they provide for the small corporate $40,000 no interest, no guarantee loan. And they allow them to repay within 3 years maximum. And then when they repay, they only need to repay $30,000. That means $10,000 is bonus for them. This provides emergency fund for the small corporate. The last program is the cutting of the bank rate. They cut down the bank rate 3 times in the month of March from 1.75% to 0.25%. You might ask me whether there will be any chance that the bank rate will cut to negative. My answer is no, because under the Consumer Protection Act in Canada, if any public deposit any money to the bank has to at least return the principal amount back to the public upon maturity. This law is to avoid the bank to create extra charges like administrative charge, like statement charge, to charge the public and cause the public to get a loss. Therefore, Consumer Protection Act would disallow the interest rate to go to negative. If you look at our history, even back in 2008 and 2008, when we have suffered another recession, the bank rate is only at 0.25%, which is the lowest rate ever. And we don't think that it will ever go down anything below 0 for the time being. The third part, I'm going to talk about what is the aftermath economic impact. Since this generous economic package offered by all the country and is unprecedented, no economic textbook has ever recorded this kind of situation. I remember that a lot of time when there's any economic downturn, it's only happened in one country. Therefore, the economic stimulus package only introduced by one country. It's very rare that the whole world suffer, and then the whole world has to generate this kind of generous program to rescue the economy. That's the reason why you can see that this impact will be more severe than what we've seen before. If you look at that, in the year 2004, China suffered some economic downturn. At that time, they provide 4 trillion economic subsidy for the country to jumpstart the economy. But at that time, it's only China. No other country followed suit. Well, we would like to compare the various economic package in various countries. This data was provided in North America. The number here represents the local currency. You can see that Japan, Canada, and USA provide the biggest percentage of of subsidy to the economy, which Japan give out 22% of GDP as subsidy. Canada is most generous, 29%. USA is 27%. Well, I can tell Japan and Canada have the biggest kind of GDP subsidy to the economy, not just because of the economic problem suffered by the COVID-19. It's also because of the selfish reason of those ruling party. If you remember, the liberal democratic party in Japan always spend too much. Okay, in the past 10 years, they always overspend. Every year, they accumulate a lot of deficit. Same as in our liberal government. Although, in the last election, they promised to balance the budget in the year 2018. Of course, it doesn't happen. And then these two countries, the ruling party is trying to spend more during this COVID-19 to cover up themselves for their mismanagement of the economy. Therefore, they are more generous than the other country. USA is different. USA will have an election in November 2020. Therefore, they think that they will have to make their people happy. Therefore, they are very generous to provide some cash to the general public. Compared to this, UK, Germany do not have any election concern in the near future. Therefore, they are more conservative to provide subsidy. France seems to be the most conservative country who provide the packages. China, by itself, do not give much help to the local economy. Well, regarding about various packages, we can divide them into three different categories. The first one is called direct subsidy, like the helicopter cash that they provide cash for each of their citizens. For example, like wage subsidy, employment subsidy, some forgiveness of loan. These are immediate subsidy. Of course, it would immediately impact the government finance, but it might be a lesser evil arrangement because if the corporate went bankrupt or people are unemployed, they have to kind of collect unemployment benefit from the government. And when the corporate kind of collapse, if the economy ever try to recover, those corporate cannot help the economy to recover soon. Therefore, in order to make sure that the economy will recover quicker, therefore the government tend to keep the corporate afloat, keep the employment, so that whenever the time comes, when the economy starts to recover, we can enjoy more. Therefore, it has a great impact to the government finance, but it might be a better arrangement compared to just let the whole economy collapse. The second is called delayed payment. For example, delayed tax deadline, delayed pension plan contribution, delayed loan repayment. And of course, you will see that this one do not carry a huge impact to the government finance because lower income this year means higher income in the coming year. Of course, because of the lower interest rate, even though that the delayed loan repayment, the financial institution only absorb some loss and some risk, but they don't have major impact to those financial and commercial bank. The third one is about the government guaranteed loan. The government cover the corporate risk, encourage the commercial bank to lend to the exporter as well as the manufacturer. Well, it creates liquidity to the corporate to reduce the rate of bankruptcy. Well, you can say that it does not immediately require the government to provide any subsidy. They only provide guarantee. But in actual fact, it will create a long-term effect to the economy. After 3 years, when those corporates need to pay back the loan, if they don't have money, is the government going to prolong the guarantee loan program? Or the government has to nationalize those company and turn them into government civil servant? Well, this program seems to be very economical, but it will carry a long-term effect to the economy. Well, example is, for example, like Old Testament. In Egypt, when there's a famine in Egypt, at that time Joseph trying to help the public by opening up their inventory and provide food to the public. And afterwards, after a couple of years, the public cannot repay the loan to the government. Therefore, Joseph take the land from the public and turn them into the tenant, and they become the worker for Pharaoh. Therefore, turning the guarantee loan into government program has the history, okay? Whether our government like to go through the same exercise as what Pharaoh and Joseph had before is another mystery to our economy in the future. These slides are the economic data provided by European scholars. You can see that they try to kind of delineate between direct subsidy, delayed subsidy, and guarantee program. You will see that most of the European government try to use more guarantee loan program to help the economy from falling, okay? People like Germany, Canada, Italy are the ones who give out a lot of guarantee loan program to the public. Well, as you know, Germany is very famous for the competitive nature of their corporate. Their corporate is always changing their business model and their product to suit the new economy. Therefore, I don't have any doubt that those guarantee loans in Germany can be repaid. However, for Canada, is our corporate so competitive as in Germany? That's a good question. Whether the guarantee loan program has to extend it 3 years later, or what we are going to do with those corporate which cannot deal with this restructuring. About this, USA is very conservative. They provide a lot of direct subsidy to the people, but they do not give a lot of guarantee loan, partly because they think that the direct subsidy is most effective. Second is because USA believe that the corporate has to look after themselves. They have to find their way to get out from the economic downturn. They need to restructure. If they cannot restructure, they prefer those companies to go file Chapter 11 or Chapter 7 for file a bankruptcy, and then let the other company who are more successful to carry on the industry. Therefore, USA did not provide such a huge subsidy as guarantee loan. Then would like to visit how the program in Canada like, okay? If you think about it, the short-term subsidy, direct and delay program cost us around $115 billion. The long-term guarantee loan program costs us around $500 billion. If you compare the money circulation recorded in March 2020, our M1, which is the money circulation in cash, is around $1.1 trillion. And if you combine the cash with the short-term deposit, it's around $1.8 billion. If you combine M2 with the long-term deposit, it's around $2.7 trillion. Therefore, you can see that the short-term kind of subsidy, which is $150 billion, use the basis of M2. That means the government has injected around 0.09% money circulation growth just in 2020. If you look at the long term, both the long-term and short-term subsidy is around $650 billion. And then use the base number of M3. That means in the horizon of 3 years, the government is providing 24% extra money to the economy. Therefore, we have increased our money supply by 8% every year in the next 3 years. Then, what's the consequence of this increase of money circulation? First of all, in the standard textbook, everyone will tell you that if you increase money circulation, that means more money will chase after limited supply of the product. Therefore, the currency will depreciate. You spend more money to buy the same kind of product. And then will create a massive inflation. However, I don't think that will happen this time because every government is more money circulation and the currency rate is a relative rate. Therefore, our currency will not depreciate against other currency because everyone is printing out money and increasing the money circulation. The second effect is, of course, when the government has to provide those subsidies, they have to issue some debt. and those will become a long-term burden for the government. The third consequence is that because of the inflation, the labor will ask for more money. Therefore, there will be rapid increase of labor costs in this country. The fourth consequence is because when the government issues so many debt, it will artificially lower down the interest rate. However, inflation is very high. Therefore, people start to protect themselves and preserve their capital by buying more assets. It happened in the year 2010 to 2016, when the interest rate was so low. Therefore, people are buying up assets like real estate, stock market to preserve their capital. Therefore, asset bubble will happen very soon with this new money circulation. The next one is about the increased extremity between the rich and poor. As you know, in the recovery, some of the poor people or lower income people might never get back their job. Their job will disappear forever. Therefore, the increased money circulation will fall into the hand of the rich or middle class people more than the poor people. Therefore, this increased extremity in the society will create some social unrest in the near future. Last, of course, everything has their own consequence. When the government gives you subsidy today, they will try to get back the money from you. They're going to increase the tax, okay? What we expect that the government will do to resolve this problem? Of course, the most optimistic way to resolve this program is that when the economy will recover, our production also recover, our GDP will recover. For example, if our GDP and our recovery went up by 8% in the year 2021, it will neutralize all the increase in the money circulation, and therefore it will not create any inflation pressure to us. Of course, everything is very optimistic. If ever our recovery is so quick that we can go up 8% in 1 year. The second way to resolve this problem is to create some temporary coronavirus tax. Some of the people will say that the government will introduce maybe 3 or 5 years tax increase program to increase our tax rate or add some supplemental tax to the rich people. The third one is about increased immigration. This is one of the most common methods that our government used in the past 20 years. As a statistics, among the immigrants come from rich country or poor country, every family, when they come to Canada, will bring between 100,000 to 150,000 net capital to this country. Therefore, if we are going to increase immigration, which might bring the capital to this country and neutralize what the money growth has done. If you look at the political nature recently happened in Asia, in India, you will know that increased immigration is one of the possible solutions used by our government. Depreciation of currency is something which people always use. If you depreciate your currency, your product becomes more competitive. Therefore, you will increase your manufacturing. But as I said, this might not happen this time because all the countries increase their money printing. Therefore, our currency might not depreciate and help our manufacturing. Therefore, this might not be a possible solution in this cycle. The fifth one is about the massive infrastructure build-up. The government might want to use some special infrastructure build-up program to neutralize the increase of money circulation. For example, they improve our airport facilities, they build more bridge, improve our road program, improve our railway program. Those kind of help the government loan turn into the special program loan. For example, when the government debt is going to roll over, they're going to roll over and name them as Airport Development Fund or Bridge Construction Fund or the Railway Construction Fund. This will turn the project become the borrower of those funds and create less pressure for the government to bear, because those will become the local program for the local project to repay those loans. Last but not least, which is another program which might help, is to strengthen the balance sheet. The government can cut the social program or retirement of the debt. Of course, that was the least possible solution that our government will use, because no democratic government will try to burn the hope of re-election because of cutting the program and provoke the whole general public. Therefore, although this is one of the most effective program to help up to neutralize the money growth, but this will be one of the rarest kind of solution that the government will ever use. This ends my presentation today.